Early, Alan, using the 30 degrees of banking to get those big runs off of the corner.
Yeah, that's what you have to do, especially to get all you can on these restarts. And again, we see it right after a restart, trying to fight to the bottom and get that real estate.
Come on.
Because getting stuck 2 by 2 on the outside can ruin your day, especially early on in the run. Then you spend the rest of the run trying to make up all the track position you lost on the restart. We'll have to watch those every time we see a caution out here on this track.
We're looking at Cody Bias right now. He's one of the drivers who has struggled the most from the drop of the green flag. That number 27 car started up at the number 6 spot. He's down to 15th. So I don't know what's going on with the Valkyrie.
And get that real estate, if you will, because getting stuck 2 by 2
What we got here?
outside can ruin your day.
Ooh, okay.
In the run, then
Ooh, okay.
Trying to make up all the track position you lost on the restart. We'll have to watch those every time we see a caution out here on the track.
Looking at Cody Bias right now. He's one of the drivers who has struggled the most from the drop of the green flag. That number 27 car started up with the number 6 spot. He's down to 15th.
Where's the actual skate brands, bro?
The Val Creative machine, but not.
I don't know all that shit.
He needs to settle into a rhythm, and you can see trying to use that single file positioning to kind of go higher into the corner and arc it down and carry speed off. You can do that when you're running single file. We'll see if he's able to stop the bleeding and maintain that spot, and maybe try to turn things around as you get deeper and deeper into the opening stint, which you blink, it is already 25 laps in the books, all of which have been led by Sebastian Aaron, who continues to lead the way. New changes in the top 5. That's the exact order they were at the end of lap number 1. Mercurio, Tinsley, Scott Navarro, the top 5 as they run.
You can see that balance out a little bit.
That's actually pretty cool.
Lines that are really good here at Bristol. Watch how much migration has happened over the first 20 Look how dark that concrete surface is on the bottom of the racetrack. That is how much energy the entire field has put down there.
Oh yeah, I want that. Actually, what the fuck?
Have anything fun or to appreciate?
Why am I all the way up here? Ow.
One of the best things about this qualifying series is we bring a lot of really talented drivers into the booth. And he's also sticking around for races. Former Championship Series champion, Casey Curran, Kansas City Pioneers. So, Casey, thanks for hanging out. You found success. You won races at the top level here at the Bristol Motor Speedway. I know it's early, but 30 laps in, what do you know?
Airtime, fun time. Testing, no pushing.
Firing off, all kind of try to run around the bottom. Probably mainly to take care of their stuff. Some guys jumped up there early to try and get some spots, but yeah, now definitely the track's taking a lot of rubber on the bottom, so the top's probably getting pretty good in comparison speed-wise to the bottom, but eventually, you know, the top's going to get run into and then might migrate back down at some point. So it's still fairly early into the run though, so kind of going to the top, you still want to be pretty cautious and not like overcharging the entries and kind of burning up your right front or your right rear, kind of depending on how your balance is. So, yeah, we'll see how it keeps progressing as the run goes on.
Obviously, it's a concrete surface here at Bristol. Do you find that the track, being that concrete surface, takes rubber differently, or do you just judge it on, listen, it's Bristol, it's such a unique track in its own right that the concrete has less to do with it and it's just more the shape of the banking?
Yeah, I feel like it's more just like a banking thing for us. Yeah, just can change the right off the top, but also, you know, it's a much shorter distance if you're at the bottom. So just depending on, you know, how the track comes in and, you know, where kind of
shit.
From where everyone's running is kind of where you can move around and find speed throughout the run.
Casey, you've had a lot of success in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series. Take us through your memory bank. You won your first race here at Bristol Motor Speedway. What is your favorite memory about that moment, when you did it, and I guess what you experienced in those final laps when you walked away with the dub?
Yeah, it's crazy that it was getting close
that was
to
brutal.
But,
was it?
Yeah, it was really rewarding for, you know, you obviously getting to the level is such a hard thing to do, but then winning at this level as well, you have to be able to do that. Just, you know, was a very proud moment for me.
Landing big one.
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy race. You know, I don't really remember how like it all kind of started.
Yes.
I remember the last run. Like I got the lead, and then lost the lead late, and then yeah, I think kind of like you said, how you know line could get top dominant at some point. I kind of found speed at the bottom, you know, late in that race and was able to get back around Novak.
That was awesome.
Like, I think it was 4 laps ago or something down the bottom. So, yeah, it was really cool to get into the
You were late for
yeah, always look back on that with fun.
Casey, the road to pro has never been easy, but this new qualifying series format with the trucks, O'Reillys, and then Cup cars, what do you make of the competition level? Do you
Damn
find
it.
yourself sizing up the competition? Because in a few weeks, these will be your competitors.
Yeah, I think for sure, like you see, for instance, like Marin, who's leading this race, obviously he's had an incredible season. Guys like that, you obviously keep an eye on, and I think kind of with this format this year, it's a bit different. Normally, you know, you have
Bigger Kelly Lanza.
do Xfinity before you ever touch the Cup car and getting into the Coke Series, and I think, you know, some guys
That was sick.
You know, maybe struggle a bit more in the Cup car, or maybe are stronger in the Cup car than they are in say the O'Reilly car. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially these next 3 races. I think when we'll all probably pay a bit more attention to kind of see the guys that probably will be making it, kind of how they do in the Cup car, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on it for the next 3 weeks.
175 laps at Bristol can go by quickly if it's under green flag conditions. You talk about drivers trying to save some of their stuff early and then kind of work into the run. In this kind of current era of NASCAR racing with this type of race length, does that maybe change how you approach races and the runs than you would have, 5 or 6 years ago when the races were longer, or is it an indifferent, amount, then you just kind of have to try to play both the short run and be ready for the long run no matter what?
Yeah, I'd say it's a bit different in the sense of, when the races were a bit longer, you could almost bank on there being a longer run a bit more. Kind of now with it being the races so short, if you qualify bad, especially at a place like
If you duck to the shop, avoid the rain. Don't worry, it's all dry out here now.
For a long run.
Imagine
Try
that.
and go at least pit off some early if you can, but also at the same time, you kind of have to play it where if you, sometimes, as you kind of saw at the start, Bristol can kind of get roadblocked 2 by 2, and you kind of get at that point, you just sit there and save your stuff, and then, hope you go pick on the bunch kind of middle to the end of the run. So, yeah, it's definitely probably a bit more aggressive at the start, especially if you qualify bad, but I think the guys at the front are probably,
Bullseye on air.
fire off too much, but mainly if you just have a guy
Bruh.
you have less time to make up for it, you kind of have to go right off the road.
We'll get some more insight from you as the night goes on. Again, we appreciate you hanging out with us, Casey. We're going to check in with what's going on in split number 2 against Sebastian Herring, comfortable at an 0.8 of a second advantage here in split number 1. Split number 2 hasn't had quite the same comfortable start, and right there, Tommy Gossett.
Another air
contact on the 26 right as we join them. And that's at least his second yellow of the afternoon in split number 2. Very different complexion than what we're seeing up in split 1.
There's a lot less rubber put on the racetrack as a result. You can tell with how many yellow flag laps they've already run. But that is what you come to expect when you visit a track like Bristol. And even in this kind of condition, where the drivers are in control, the tires are now at their flip point, and they're starting to fall away, and the lines are coming in. You can have that convergence point where 2 drivers get together. We had it a bit here in split 1 with Payne Howell and Dylan Basin that almost brought a yellow in this first run. You have them come together.
Damn it.
Pretty harsh.
That very infamous inside wall that can shoot you back up the racetrack.
So we'll go back to split 2 when they get back underway, but they're pacing again on what is at least the second yellow of the night for them. When we were talking to Casey, Comey Scott in a battle for 4th. So Andrew Navarro up to P4, Comey Scott down to the 5 spot. Lewis Teamsman starting this race in 3rd.
That record is a non-tax benefit. Each citizen and
the 6th placed car on the leaderboard. Watching the battle in the midfield on board with Wilkerson, trying his best to get around Conklin. These 2 cars started on the same row as each other. They just have not been able to get away from one another. And you kind of see, right in front of them, a group of 3 cars. Halfway through turns 1 and 2, a group of 3 cars there, Alan. You just get bunched up with people, and it's, to Casey's point, just kind of hard to get away.
This is the type of racing that will test your patience as a driver. If you've been staring at the same numbers, the same paint scheme for now 55 laps, part annoyance, part frustration, because the leader's coming. Sebastian Marin is laying down these laps. You don't want to get laps. The tires are wearing, the handling's going, and this battle, it was the 43 on the inside, 54 on the outside. Now there's 50, but again, one of those battles that's just going to, it'll worry about it more later on in the race. We'll keep an eye on it.
Not the right trick I wanted to do.
And Michael Cozy Jr. right now in the battle with Graham Bolin. It's 18th and 19th position on the racetrack. Just in front of them is Matt Busa. That's the all-white, no sponsors on board. The number 18 Chevrolet in front of them. So we'll call that Cozy got really sideways that time off the turn.
Shit.
And it allowed maybe Bolin an extra half a lap on the outside, but they do get down to single file nonetheless. Cozy clearly wanting to be the aggressor in this, now trying to find a way to the outside of the 18. That's going to be a challenge, Kenneth, if that
Ooh, I got an idea.
More and more preferred as the run goes on. It's very easy for defending car to just leave the ball.
Ow, if I don't do that.
And that guy doesn't really want to try to pass me down there and wear up his sub. Cozy very clearly, it looks like, trying to get to the outside of somebody, but that's a lot trickier than diving underneath them.
We watched that second split going back under green, but you're right, on the inside, you try to carry so much throttle when you have a car up there, you don't want to wall them, you don't want to get into them and potentially wreck yourself. We've seen that happen before, when the right front just carries you up the hill into the car on the outside, so that you're forced to use less throttle, and that car on the outside can just roll through the center, take that right rear out for a little bit of a whirl, and just go on the exit corner and be right well with all that momentum. So that's where you're seeing that kind of identity of drivers using that higher lane, some a little more comfortable getting closer to the wall. But you can use the inside. Everyone's on the bottom. That's a place to be more aggressive and more physical versus on the top. It's become a bit of a marathon.
Just watching the mess that is that split number 2 restart on the bottom of your screen. You're going to obviously see the leaders get single file out first, and then the battles will get deeper and deeper into the midfield. If you're around P20, you got bad news. You're going to be one of the last people to get some breathing room off of a restart. Very competitive down there in split 2. We talked about how critical the points are outside of just split number 1. If you come into tonight's race and you take a look at the points, there are 11 drivers of the top 38 points that competed last week in split 2. So there is a lot on the line. Full screen now is split 2, where Joe Armstrong continues to lead. We're watching the battle between
I didn't know where I was.
and Jake Nichols for P5.
And what a season it's been so far for Nate Stewart. Said his goal was really just to keep that nose clean on his Toyota Supra, and that's the main goal, to have a bristle that usually goes away first out of any of the other goals.
Oh, what?
Yourself as a driver here at the Last Break Coliseum, but a huge jump he made from around that top 30 cut line. He's now 150 clear. He's done a great job at moving upwards. And then you think of drivers that are trying to regain their confidence in this event. That's that blue and white Chevrolet of Carson Bowers that he crashed. He was at one of those first few yellows here in split number 2.
It feels like this spot is not safe.
Ow.
So Bowers is trying to get himself back into the motions. Facing like a very daunting look going into the corner with everyone going side by side in front.
Got the skills in both.
Yes, I know.
Sim and then on the Carson track as well, so who knows where that can take him. But he wants to good guy like Carson Hocevar. He's currently in 33rd.
Yeah, we talked a lot about some of the NASCAR national talent, and we've been talking about Carson a lot this year. At one point early in the year, he was in a top 30 transfer spot at one point in the point standings. Not sure that he's able to make enough of the races to fight for that top 30 spot.
I'm not changing anything.
Carson be competitive, no doubt. Obviously, still does a ton of streaming on the iRacing service, and they have caution flag at 3. Trouble off of turn number 4. One car slow to the outside. So, with that, let's jump to number 1, where Sebastian Marin still leads. You're looking at the battle a bit further back in the pack. We'll call this one about 10th position on back. Peyton Hamels got it in the black 28. Everybody else wants it. It's Bias, Basin, and Reynolds. Behind them, 3 wide off the corner. That was Kenny Brady in the center.
You know, going back to Carson Hocevar, I'd be very interested to see if a modern era NASCAR Cup O'Reilly or truck driver ended up making the Coke Championship Series and how that would all work with a real life schedule. But this is great battles all throughout. You got Kenny Brady kind of at the back of this, who has been sort of meandering around this top 20 position. Someone who told us before the season he was very excited for a track like Bristol. A lot of drivers get very anxious about tracks like these, but others really embrace the challenge wholeheartedly, and they love exactly what's going on. And someone who's also loving the points he's getting right now, Dylan Basin, made his top split debut, guys, last week at Darlington. Ran pretty well to gather decent points after winning in split 2 a few weeks ago at Homestead of Miami, and now running here top 15 here in top split.
Yeah, big pickups for him. That's one of the trends we've been following as the season has gone on. As you can look at Basin in the 48 machine, is week 1 was kind of max numbers week.
Imagine if I landed that.
Start the season, I'll call it at an accessible racetrack. It's Daytona. That's probably the most splits we saw. And then as drivers with other commitments or didn't have a season they were wanting and have progressively decided not to compete and dropped out, drivers would move up through the split. We've seen a handful of drivers jump 2 splits.
I think right here is good.
In the top handful of them, that means more points are available. And what you don't want, Alan, is if you're Dylan Basin to be doing good in split number 2.
Oh my God!
You'd rather be a top finisher in 2 than a bottom finisher in 1. Thankfully for him, that's not the case. He's got the speed to keep it up with these guys, and he's been doing a great job.
It is a weird mathematical point-paying strategy. We are seeing some drivers making a living, right? So
Hold on, I got that. Oh! Oh my God, that was sick!
These top splits and showing that he can hang, right? Showing
Oh!
with drivers like this who.
Oh my God, I don't even care if I crashed.
Bristol, we're now 81 laps.
That was awesome, bro. Hold on, do that shit again. No, get out of there. Bro, hold up.
Find the right route and
You enjoy being here, right?
Land that shit.
Garrett Lowe goes low here. We'll see what the
No.
can do. And he makes the pass. Good for him.
I also just heard Andrew Navarro go over the radio and say, hey, Garrett, take the low side. He knows how fast Garrett is right now.
Oh.
And for a driver like Andrew Navarro,
Hit the Michael Jordan.
popular, Sebastian Marin has been his
What do you mean hit the Michael Jordan pose?
Andrew Navarro's been just as good, if not sometimes better, to be top 10 last week. Darlington, he's been for both of the season, and it's moments like that.
Hold up.
You move saying, hey, I'm not going to
I got this.
I'm not going to fight you hard. Take the spot. I still got good points. That is what takes a driver.
Oh, what?
Move to the top 30 and stay.
I got this. Hold on. I'm dedicated.
Seems like that's very anti.
No, that's how I wanted to go. I got that. I'm gonna hop on NASCAR in a little bit. Hold up.
Here's a reminder. A mission that you started.
So pit stops happening with a trip down to the pit lane for Ray Alfalla. You saw him go all the way around the racetrack.
Where am I going?
Pit road is split into 2 pit roads in terms of one on the front stretch and one on the back. It operates as a single pit lane. So if you're pitted on the front stretch,
Another air
come down the
citizen.
front straightaway pit lane. You have to go all the way around the entirety of the racetrack.
I want to freaking transfer over to those ramps over there. Ow. But how do I? Jesus Christ, what the fuck?
7 seconds on the pit lane. I mean, you're looking at 3 laps easily with that number. So
ooh, wait, hold on.
Get through a green flag pit cycle with Sean Coughlin to the pit road, and just as we said it, caution for the first time. Number 1, it sounds like it was Navarro, who we were just complimenting him on his patience by letting somebody go. Where the trouble comes from, and what on earth happened to the driver in 3rd?
Is it a jinx? I don't know what I just did there, but
all right.
I mean, rolling.
I'm gonna hop on.
Eddie Kerner, I was just about to bring up in this entire strategy ploy.